Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, we are gonna learn how we can make a keylogger all from scratch and learn how to deploy it using MITM proxy. This particular video is gonna be one of a kind, as I'll be telling you the different phases involved in developing a keylogger and successfully deploying it. But before I begin, let's just understand how this keylogger works. So consider this scenario. A victim is connected to the same Wi-Fi network as the attacker. Now the attacker creates a malicious JavaScript code which involves the keylogger and injects it into the victim's device whenever he visits an HTTP page. And we all know how he can do that. He will be using MITM proxy to achieve that. Now, whenever the victim types anything like username, password, or even dog inside the website, all these keystrokes will be sent to the attacker's server and will be saved in a file known as keystrokes.txt. So that's how the keylogger is gonna work. Now let's learn the plan of attack. How are we going to go forward achieving these steps? Now there are two things that you need to consider. There will be one keylogger JavaScript code and then there will be a server. The keylogger JavaScript code is gonna reside in the victim's machine. Obviously, whenever he visits an HTTP page, we'll be injecting this keylogger JavaScript code using MITM proxy. And the server is going to exist in the attacker's side. And the server is going to listen to the keystrokes sent by the victim. Now here is a difficult thing. The server is running on localhost and the victim has no way of contacting the server. How are we going to connect these two together? Obviously, we are going to do port forwarding using an ngrok tunnel. Now, how is the victim gonna generate the keystrokes and how is the attacker gonna get it? It's pretty simple. Whenever the victim types something in his browser, automatically a GET request is created using XML HTTP request or AJAX, and here the parameter key will contain the character that the user or the victim has pressed. In this case, when the victim pressed key A, automatically a GET request has been created which contains the parameter key whose value is A. And this particular request is sent via the ngrok tunnel to the server side, where the server analyzes the key parameter, extracts the key, and then saves it inside keystrokes.txt file. Now when the victim presses the key B, a GET request is created with the parameter key value set to B. It is sent via ngrok tunnel to the server. The server analyzes the key parameter, extracts the key B, and then saves it inside the keystrokes.txt file. So that's the workflow behind this keylogger. Now there are different phases of development in this particular keylogger. The first is installation. Then we will be learning how we can create the keylogger. Then we will create the server. Then we will test the server. And finally, we are going to deploy the whole setup in real world and we'll see how it actually works. Alright, excited to begin? Let's jump right into it. The first thing that we need to install is Python 3. By default, Kali Linux already has Python 3 installed, so when I type Python 3 -FN version, you can see that I have 3.9 version. Now let me update the package list. For that, I'll be typing apt-get update and it will update the package list. And as you can see, the package list has been updated. Now we are going to install the virtual environment for Python 3. For that, type apt-get install, then Python, then the version of your Python, in my case it's 3.9 -venv, and then hit enter. And as you can see, mine is already installed. Python 3.9 venv is already the newest version. Cool. Now we are going to install ngrok for port forwarding. Before I do that, first of all, let me navigate to a safe directory where I'll be saving all the keylogger files and server, etc. And now here I'll be downloading ngrok. For that, I'll be navigating to my browser, which is Firefox. And here I'll be typing ngrok and then hit enter. I'll click on the first link, online in one line. I'll click on the download link, and then it will automatically select Linux for me, and then I only have to click download, save file, and then hit OK, and that will download ngrok for us. Cool, now let me open the directory where ngrok has been downloaded. Now, as you can see, I already have extracted it. Now let me just go ahead and delete the previous ngrok one, and I'll extract a new fresh from the zip folder or tgs folder. Now I'll right click here and then click on extract here, and that will extract ngrok right over there. Now I would like to copy the ngrok to desktop because there I am creating the keylogger file, right? So let me just copy it to desktop, and then I will navigate to desktop, and as you can see, ngrok is right over there. Now let me go back to the terminal, and if I hit ls right over here, you can find the ngrok executable file is present right over there. Cool. Now we are going to create a Python virtual environment so that all the dependencies can be installed right over there without creating any dependency conflicts. So in order to create a virtual environment, we'll be typing python3-m venv space the name of the virtual environment. In my case, I'll be typing virtual env, but in your case, you can type anything you want. And then hit enter, and that will create a virtual environment named virtual env. Now when I hit ls, as you can see, there's a new directory named virtual env. Now if I navigate inside that particular virtual environment directory and then hit ls, there will be a bin folder. Now inside the bin folder, there's an activate shell script. We need to source that shell script. So for that, type ./bin/activate and then hit enter, and this will activate the virtual environment. Now we're going to download the dependencies for our Python server. The first thing is to install Flask, which will be used to create our server. For that, type pip install Flask. And as you can see, it's done. Now we need to install Flask_course for managing course, which is cross-origin resource sharing. If you don't understand course, no need to worry, I'll be covering it extensively in my website hacking course. Now that's it. Now here we are going to write the code for our keylogger. So for that, I'll create a new file named keylogger.js using the vi text editor. And then here I'll be typing the JavaScript keylogger code. So the first step is to add an event listener to the document, and the event type is going to be a key down, which means whenever the user presses the key down event, a function would be called. And the name of the function here, I'll be typing send keys. Now I'll define the function send keys. So I'll just type function send keys, and this particular function send keys will have the AJAX that will request our server. Now the send keys will take a parameter which is going to be event. So let me just type event, or you can just type E for short because that's much easier and better to type. So I'll just type E, and here I'll be typing or initiating an AJAX request to our server. So the first step is to create a new XML HTTP request object, and then I'll be opening this XML HTTP request object, and the parameter used is going to be get. Now I'm going to type the URL for our server, which will be spit out by the ngrok tunnel, and then I'll set the async to be true, and by default it's going to be true. And then finally I'll be sending this XML HTTP request. So this is going to be our basic keylogger code. And as you can see, when I hit ls, the keylogger.js file is right over there. Now we're going to create the server using Python. So I'll just type vi server.py to create a new file known as server.py, and inside that I'll be using Flask to create the server. Now for those who are new to Python and Flask, well, no need to worry, a future course will be released regarding Flask web development. You can learn everything you want regarding that right over there. But right now, just follow along what I do and you will understand what's happening right here. Cool. So the first step is to import Flask. So for that, type from Flask, import the class Flask. And then we are going to also import request. So type from Flask import request. And then finally we are going to import course. For that type from Flask underscore course import course. Now we are going to initialize the Flask class. For the type app equals to Flask, and then within the bracket you need to type underscore underscore name underscore underscore. And that's how you instantiate the Flask class. Now we are going to create a route. For the type at app.route and pass in the / because we are going to be using the home route. And then within that we are going to define a function named index. Now this particular function will look for a get request parameter, and that get request parameter I have discussed earlier is going to be key, and the value to that parameter will saved inside a value or a variable key. And then we are going to open up a file that will write this particular key parameter and save it inside that particular file. So the code to write is with open, and then we're going to type the file name, which is going to be keystrokes.txt. So let me type keystrokes.txt, and the mode is going to be append mode. So I'll just type A, and then we'll open it as F, and then within that I'll type f.write, and I'll just append the key inside that particular file. So I'll just type key. And I'll also add the new line character in the end so that all the keys will be appended line by line. Cool. So let me just summarize what happens here. Whenever we get a get request with the key parameter, what this particular endpoint is going to do is this particular endpoint is going to capture the value of that particular key parameter and then opens the keystroke.txt file in append mode and then writes the key parameter or the key value inside it. Cool. Now all I need to do is to run this particular app, and then I had to save this particular file. But before I do that, there is one more line I need to add. That is, I would like to add course and within that parenthesis app, and this will ensure all the course conflicts and it will resolve all of them. Cool, that's it. Now all I need is to save this particular file and then exit out of it. Now it is time to test our Python server. So type python space server.py and that will run our server. And as you can see, that particular server is running at localhost and 5000 port. So let me just go ahead and visit that particular URL. So I'll open up my browser and then I'll type 127.0.0.1 is to 5000. And then I'll have to pass in a parameter which is key, and then I'll just add a simple character A. And we are gonna get an error. This says the requested URI was not found. Well, let me just go ahead and check what happened. So let me just close this particular server and then open up the server.py file. Oh, I forgot to return. We need to always return something in the endpoint. So let me just type quickly return, and then I'll just return say hello right over here. That's it. Now all I need is to save this particular file and then exit. Now if I run the server again by typing python server.py, and then if I go ahead and visit that exact URL once again, and I'll also add the key parameter because that particular endpoint is accepting a key parameter. So I'll just type key equals to, and then here I'll be just passing the letter A. And as you can see, it just returned hello, which is as expected. Now here you can say that we have got a get request. Now if I just hit Ctrl C and then hit ls right over here, you can see a new file named keystrokes.txt has been created. Now if I catch the contents of keystrokes.txt, you can see that the letter A has been appended. Isn't that amazing? That means our endpoint is working really fine. Now let me run the server again. Now here in the key parameter, let me pass something else. Now if I hit enter, as you can see, we just got the get request for that as well. Now if I cat the contents of keystrokes.txt, you will find that now the password has been appended to that particular file. Great, so now everything is working really fine. Now all we need to do is to port forward it using ngrok. So the first step is to run the server, and then open up a new terminal, and then we are gonna do port forwarding using ngrok. Now navigate to the directory where you have saved ngrok. In my case, I have saved it in desktop folder. Now before I run ngrok, we need to authenticate ngrok. So the first step is to open up your browser, go to the download section that we have gone earlier, and then navigate to the top, and then click on the docs. Now somewhere around here you will get the documentation about installing the ngrok. Yeah, go ahead and click on that particular link. And then if I go to the top section, you can see there's this heading tunnel auth tokens. And here it is mentioned that once you're signed up for an ngrok account, you need to configure the ngrok auth token that appears on your dashboard. So let's just go ahead and sign up. Well, I have already signed up, so let me just log in, and that will redirect me to my dashboard. And in your case, you have to sign up if you're a first user, and then that will navigate you to your dashboard. And on the dashboard, you can find the ngrok auth token. And as you can see, this is my particular email. That means I have logged in correctly. And here you can see connect your account, and copy just this particular command, and then go to your desktop and then paste it. Now before you hit enter, you need to just add // in the very beginning, because ngrok is an executable file. And then go ahead and hit enter, and that will add the auth token to ngrok, and your ngrok has been authenticated. Now all you need is to run ngrok. For that, type /ngrok space http and then the port at which your server is running, which is 5000. And then go ahead and hit enter. And as you can see, ngrok has already begun port forwarding, and this particular link that you can see right over here, an HTTPS link, will lead you to your localhost 5000. Now let me just go ahead and copy this particular HTTPS link, go and open up a new browser, and then paste this HTTPS link. And in the end, I will add the key parameter, and the value I'll set it to some gibberish value. And then when I hit enter, voila, it is responding from the server. So that means this particular ngrok port forwarding is working absolutely fine. And as you can see in our server, we just got a GET request with that gibberish value. Great, so our port forwarding is also working really fine. Now all we need to do is to update the link inside the keylogger.js, because we left the server link empty. We just need to update that. For that we just need to navigate to the directory where we have saved our keylogger.js file. And as you can see, our keylogger.js file is inside the virtual environment directory. Just vi or edit that keylogger.js file, and here where we have put an empty string for the server URL, we just need to put the ngrok tunnel URL. And then we are going to add !key equals to, and then we are just going to append the keystroke that the user presses. That is nothing but E of key. And that's it. That's how you create a GET request that will be sent to our server. Now go ahead and save this file and exit. Now if I were to cat the contents of Keylogger, and as you can see, that particular script is right over there. Make sure you copy this script because we'll be using it in the future. Now we are at the final stage, which is deployment. First of all, go ahead and connect to the wireless network over which your victim is also connected. Now the first step is to become man in the middle. In my case, I'll be using betacap. You can use etacap, opspoof, anything you want. For the purpose of this video, I'll not be explaining betacap and how it works because I already discussed this in one of my previous videos. Well, anyways, the first step is to probe this network and find the victim, and as you can see, we have already found the victim's IP address, which is nothing but this particular device right over here, which is a PC connected to the same network. Now if I type net.show, you can clearly see the IP address right over there, which is nothing but the victim's PC. Now I'll be performing ARP spoofing, but before that let me just switch off the net probe and also show the contents of the network because we need to identify the IP address for ARP spoofing. Now I'll set the ARP spoof full duplex to true and also the targets to the victim's IP address. And that's it. When you run the ARP spoof, you will now become the man in the middle. Great. Now quickly open up a new terminal, and here we are going to modify the IP tables rule so that all the request that is coming at port 80, which is nothing but for all the HTTP request, will be redirected to port 8080. Again, I have already covered how to modify the IP tables rule for MITM proxy, and I won't be going ahead explaining in deep what's happening right over here. Alright, now as you can see, the redirect rule has been added absolutely fine. Great, now open up a new terminal and navigate to the directory where you have MITM proxy files saved. And as you can see, those 3 files of MITM proxy is right over here. And we are going to be using MITM dump to carry out our MITM JavaScript injection attack. So for that, type ./MITM dump, and then I'll just add the help parameter to just look at some of the parameters that are available for us. And we'll be using the modify body pattern. And again, we have all discussed how to use MITM dump in one of my previous videos. Make sure to watch those videos completely so that you can understand what's happening right over here. And right now, I'll just pass in the replacement parameter, and I'll just pass in ~s for replacing the body response. And then I'll just add the replacement text, that is /body, which means I just need to replace /body with what I need to replace. That is nothing but this particular script. And within the script and /script tag, we need to add the JavaScript keylogger code. So let me just quickly navigate to the directory where I have saved the JavaScript keylogger. Let me just open up the new terminal and then quickly navigate and cat the contents of keylogger.js file and then copy that particular JavaScript code. And there you go. Let me just quickly copy this and then come back to MITM dump and then paste it between the script and /script tag. And as you can see, there is a mismatch or confusion regarding the double quotes. So let me just correct it by replacing the double quotes after the /script tag to a single quote. So let me just delete this double quote right over here and then add a single quote. And I'll also navigate to the top to /body, and just before the /body, I'll replace double quotes with single quotes to resolve the double quotation conflicts. Cool. Now all I need to do is to hit enter, and as you can see, MITM proxy is running absolutely fine. Now all I need to do is to navigate back to the victim's machine and then click on any of the HTTP link. And let me just go ahead and click on the first link, and remember, this is the victim's machine. Now we are inside this particular page, which is an HTTP page. Now let me just hit Ctrl+Shift+I to open up the inspect element tab. And let me just go to elements and look for a script. Somewhere around here I'll find script, and as you can see, there you go, the script tag, and within the script tag we have the JavaScript keylogger that we injected. So this means that MITM dump is working great and it is working as expected. So let me just close the inspect element and let me just go back to my attacker's machine, and if I go to the server, as you can see, it automatically recorded the keystrokes that we just pressed. What all we pressed Ctrl+Shift+I, it just got recorded and got saved inside the keystroke.txt file. Now if I go back to the machine, which is victim's machine, and type something gibberish, and as you can see, we're gonna get the get request again. Here I just type ABCDFGHIJKLMNOP and we just got those get requests. Now let me just go ahead to the username text field and type something inside that username text field. So I'll navigate to the username text field and I'll just type victim. So it's VICTIM, and as you can see, we just got the get request, and I'll just type the password as well. And on the left hand side on the server, you can clearly see that we are getting the get request, or simply speaking, the key logs, which is amazing if you ask me. So let me just go back to the server, which is on the attacker's machine. I'll hit Ctrl+C and then I'll hit ls and just cat the contents of keystrokes.txt, and as you can see, we just logged everything regarding the keystrokes that the user has pressed. The Ctrl+Shift+I to open up the inspect element, the ABCDEFGHIJKLMNOP that we just pressed randomly, victim for the username, and ABCDEFGHIJ for the password. So there you go. That's how you create the most basic keylogger using JavaScript and Python. So I hope you learned quite a lot in this particular video. Now obviously you can modify this particular keylogger to suit according to your needs. You can add date, time, beautify it, whatever you want. But my main motive was to teach you how to create a keylogger and I hope you enjoyed this video to the fullest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.